Hey guys, we're talking about evidence of evolution. We've already talked about the process of evolution, but I'm going to take a quick minute to talk about the reason we know evolution exists. And this, again, should be a review from things that you've learned previously. So, evidence supporting evolution. Let's bring these all up. So, there's a lot of evidence out there. One piece of evidence is much stronger than others, and we'll talk about that, and we have talked about it significantly. We have the fossil records, which shows us transition species between, we'll use an example, modern whales and an organism that used to live on land. Um, we have the anatomical record, which is homologous and vestigial structures, which we'll get into in just a minute, embryology and development. There's the molecular record, which is protein and DNA sequence, and today this is probably the strongest evidence that organisms have evolved and are related. And then we have artificial selection. And we'll go through and talk about all these. So, layers of sedimentary rock contain fossils. The new layers cover old layers. I think there's this activity you do in 7th grade where you make your own fossils. This is old news, so going through it. Excellent. We continue to find lots of fossils to fill in the blanks for human evolution, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So there's a record showing us today. Basically, that's what the fossils are showing us. They're looking here at an elephant and how this elephant evolved. So here's our African elephant here, and they're using fossils. They've been able to trace elephants all the way back here. All right. Horses is just another example using fossils, looking at the fossils of foot. We're also going to talk about homologous structures, but we again here can see the evolution, how the horse evolved over time. Okay. Another example, we're taking birds. Evolution of birds and the Archaeopteryx, I don't even know how to say that correctly. It lived about 150 million years ago, and it links reptiles to birds. So that's the link between reptiles and birds. Uh, so where are the transitional fossils? We don't have transitional fossils for all organisms. Oh, we do for the land mammal, and oh, this is what I was talking about earlier, the whale. So if you look at our modern day killer whale, through fossils we've been able to trace it all the way back up here to a land animal or a land mammal. And what you guys will, when I start talking about vestigial structures, whales actually have remnants of hip bones. Okay. In 2006, we had a fossil discovery of an early tetrapod. It was called Tiktaalik. It was considered the missing link from sea to land animals, and it was a really big deal. Okay, so again, fossil record. I'm going to have you guys probably watch a show on this. Actually, yeah. Sorry. Okay. So we're looking at the anatomical record. We have homologous structures. Homologous meaning the same, like we learned when we talked about chromosomes. That's similarities and characteristics resulting from a common ancestry. So we're taking a look at these homologous structures here. We have the human arm, where we have one upper arm bone, two lower arm bones, and then look at the small bones in these. And we're going to look at a cat. Okay, same similar structures. Now we're looking at a whale flipper, same structure. And now we're looking at a bat wing. Okay. Yeah. All right, so similar structure, similar development, different functions. There's evidence of close evolutionary relationship in a recent common ancestor. Again, yeah. Leaves and pine needles. Uh, we have our succulents, leaves, okay. Spines. These are all homologous structures, needles of various plants, tendrils, and then flowers. Those are colored leaves. It's cut out of the picture, but showing you homologous structures in plants. Analogous structures, excuse me, separate evolution of structures. They have similar functions and a similar external form, but a different internal structure and development. They have a different origin. There's absolutely no evolutionary relationship. So the example of a dragonfly wing versus a bird wing. Okay, solving a similar problem with a similar solution. All right, so it says don't be fooled by their looks. Convergent evolution. Flight evolved in 3 separate animal groups. We have, so they essentially evolved similar solutions to similar problems. Whoa, I don't know what just happened there. Sorry. All right, so we're talking about convergent evolution. The fully evolved three separate animals are called analogous structures, like we just talked about. Convergent evolution evolved separately but look very similar. Okay, so fish are aquatic vertebrates. Okay, dolphins are aquatic mammals. Not to be confused with things that are closely related. Similar adaptations because of life in the sea does not make them closely related. Dolphins are much more closely related to us. That's an example of convergent evolution, when we have similarities based on environment but have nothing to do with each other. Parallel evolution is convergent evolution in common niches, okay? Filling similar ecological roles in similar environments so that similar adaptations were selected. They are not closely related. So because these two squirrels had similar adaptations, they kind of evolved parallelly. Yeah, I guess. So marsupials versus placental mammals. Okay, so we're looking at these parallel types across continents: a mole versus a marsupial mole, an anteater versus a numbat. They all have the same adaptations. I don't need to go through all of these. You can take a look. Okay, here we go. We're going to go through all of them. All right, so vestigial organs. This should be a repeat for you. Modern animals may have structures that serve little or no function. The remnants of structures that were functional in ancestral species. Okay? The deleterious mutations accumulate in genes for non-critical structures without reducing the fitness of organisms. So, again, we have a fish with no eye. Snakes and whales, remains of a pelvis and leg bones. Eyes on blind cavefish, which is what we're taking a look here. Human tailbone is an example of vestigial structure. Here's the hind limb I was talking about in whales. Humans have a lot of them also. Humans have wisdom teeth. Men have nipples. We have the appendix. The little toe on your foot is thought to have little to no use. So several vestigial structures. Comparative embryology. Similar embryological development in closely related species. All vertebrate embryos have similar structures at different stages of development. So we're looking at actually, let's look over here. A fish, a reptile, a bird, and a human. Look at the similarities between these embryos, and they all kind of develop in the same way. So we're looking at a turtle and a chick. Here doesn't seem to be a whole lot of difference in these embryos. All right, so we know a lot about this molecular record. Comparing DNA and protein structures, it's our universal genetic code. We can compare common genes, and oftentimes we do. So cytochrome C has to do with respiration, and it's the most common gene that we use. Cellular respiration is common in all living organisms, so it's the first gene that we're going to look to isolate to compare. Hemoglobin, okay, we'll take a closer look at this later. Closely related species have sequences that are more similar than distantly related species. So DNA and proteins are our molecular record of this. Okay, so we're taking a look at the comparative hemoglobin structure. And what you have here is a phylogenetic tree, which you guys will be learning about soon. But we are able to look at the number of amino acid differences between species and then compare. Let's keep going here. So building family trees,